Welcome back to the Piston Jack YouTube channel. On today's episode, we are joined by Ku Kahil of Locked On Pistons to preview the season of one of the newest Pistons, Caris LeVert. Is he the two-way player the Pistons have been searching for? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Caris LeVert. Quickly, just some numbers on Caris. For those that might not know much about him, last season he started on the Cavs, got traded to the Hawks, pretty much put up 12, 3, and 3 off the bench. Shot 37% from 3. A lot of that was skewed towards a hot shooting start to the season that tailed off once he got to the Hawks. But on the year was 47% from the field, 37% from 3, 71% from the line. I think the key numbers here that stand out to me, he's a career 34% shooter. But last year as well, he's pretty good in the clutch. 64% from the field, 9 of 14 from the field in clutch moments. Didn't really turn it over in 62 minutes in the clutch with only 2. So bit of shot creation, 6'5", 6'6". He credited JB Bickerstaff for the defensive improvement when he got to Cleveland a few years ago. Maybe let's just go back to July. What was your initial kind of reaction and thoughts to the Caris LeVert signing?
There's some people who may listen to this and may know what my initial reaction was because I was live in the playback room with 150 people in there, and as soon as the number said, I'll be real about it. I was not the biggest fan when the report first hit. I'll be even more honest with you. The hour before free agency started, I remember going in the playback room and saying, the one notification I just don't want to see, please, is Caris LeVert sign. I said that before free agency, and then it hit. So I'll be honest, I was not, the biggest fan of the signing at the time.
No, that's fair. And because I think I was guilty of it as well. I was excited for the prospect of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, even though it was looking like he was going to go to the Hawks in the day leading up. I was still kind of hopeful. But, we got Caris LeVert, 2 years, I think, is it 29 million? So it's the mid-level.
Around there, yeah.
What type of role do you see him having for the Pistons? And not just minutes-wise, but more like play style. How do you see him fitting in with the young core? And where do you think he can help this team this upcoming season?
So, like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of the signing at the time. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of his, or let me not say of his, huge fan of it still, but I can see it and I understand it more now. I'm looking at more in a positive outlook, and I do see how it could very much work out well. My issue with LeVert is that for the previous 7 seasons, for all the high volume scorers, he was one of the most inefficient scorers in the league. He had around a 51 true shooting percentage over the last 6 or 7 years. Was not very efficient at all. But this past year, he had the most efficient season of his career. That was a lot due to him taking the most threes of his career. He cut out a lot of the long twos. I went into this on the podcast. I forget what the exact numbers. I should have brought them up. But he cut the percentage of his shots that were long twos went way down. He took more threes instead and more shots at the rim instead, which is just better offensive process. It led to his most efficient season of his career. So if he can be that player from last year, if that's truly he's changed how he attacks the game offensively, I think he could really work out for the Pistons. I think just his size, I think you kind of have to bring up Dennis Schroeder here in order to understand why he could be an improvement, because Schroeder was very good for the Pistons in the playoffs, no doubt. He was a part of had some of the biggest moments in the Pistons breaking their playoff losing drought. So give him a ton of credit for that. But I think that's kind of blinded people from how he played during the regular season with the Pistons, because during the regular season, it was not the greatest at all. He was not very efficient, didn't shoot well from deep, didn't shoot well at the rim, he was not very good during the regular season. Now, he turned it up. Like I said, give him all the credit, and we will always respect Dennis because of what he helped in the playoffs. But just during the regular season, now I know it was at the end of the year and he was getting accustomed, so I'm sure maybe that played a part in it. But his play during the regular season just wasn't that great. I think Caris will be better than that. He easily should be better than that simply because of his size, his defense, his length. His defense has gotten better. I've talked with a few people in Cleveland and Atlanta about his defense. They say that he's grown a lot. So defensively, he should bring an upgrade over a smaller guard and shooter who fought defensively and definitely was an agitator, but just having that size and length will help. And I think Schroeder, as long as he sticks to this better process that he had this past year offensively, he should be like you mentioned him in the clutch. One of the reasons why he's so good in the clutch is because he does have a bag. Like he does have moves that he can go to that do create space, and he does feel confident going to these moves. Now, if he can be effective like he was this past year on them, that would be great. And if he just, like I said, continues to have a good process offensively, I think he could be really good for the Pistons. Someone else who can get to the basket consistently, finish around the basket, a long defender. Like there is a future where I can see this really working out. And I know I was really rough on the signing at first. But I do see truly that it could really work out if he sticks to how he played last year and continues to improve, or at least to stay at the level he was defensively over the last 2 or so seasons in Cleveland and Atlanta. I think it could very much work out if he's able to do that.
Yeah, totally. And I think the thing that because I was a bit like you, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the signing. Probably maybe not as much as yourself, but like I think once I had a chance to digest it, see how the off season's played out, I think something, and I know you spoke a lot about this on your podcast throughout the season and in the lead up to the off season, is like the Pistons just, and even right now, don't really have many two-way players. Like last season, and I'm not saying Caris LeVert's going to be anywhere near all defense or that kind of thing, but last season, like I personally really enjoyed the Tim Hardaway experience. Obviously, Malik Beasley was incredible and Dennis Schroeder, but like they're all just kind of small. Like Bees might be what 6'4", 6'3".
Yep.
THJ's maybe 6'4", 6'5" on a good day, and Dennis is like 6'1", 6'2". So you get that added size and a guy that in theory can give you positive stuff on both ends. And like I think that is a bonus. Obviously, like I love that you've highlighted the change in shot diet because I hadn't looked into that too much, but that's a real positive. So if you can continue that trend, I think this can be a really nice signing and an underrated signing, to be honest. But maybe that brings us to obviously Caris LeVert's a pretty established product in terms of who he is as a player. I think he's might be close to 30, if not. But is there, and you kind of outlined the shot diet, but is there anything that stands out that you would like to see less from him this season for him to help this team be at their best?
Yeah, I think again, it goes back to the shot diet. I think if throughout so much of his career, he was given a lot of free reign to just be Caris LeVert. And you kind of have to, if you're going to have Caris LeVert in your team, you kind of have to allow him to be Caris LeVert. But a lot throughout his career, a lot of that came to step back long twos, pull up twos, and it just wasn't efficient offense. If he can just continue to do what he did last year, where, okay, we allow you to be Caris LeVert. Obviously, you want him, like the Pistons signed him because they want another ball handler, and he's going to be trusted to be that ball handler. And he is a fine playmaker, too. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot at all. That's something he should get credit for as well. Doesn't turn the ball over a lot at all, and it's a fine passer. So come in, we'll put the ball in your hands, but if we do, we want you, hey, can you, just be smart with the ball. Be smart with your decisions. If you can do that and be the player he was last year, this honestly could really, really work out for the Pistons. Like you mentioned, I'm glad you brought it up. Like the size defensively was like at times for me, just like I wanted to like just like watching the games. It would kill me. I think what
THJ
really,
at the 3 for like the first 20, and that was because Asar wasn't there. But like,
yeah,
man, we were just undersized a lot.
it was like like you have Cade at point guard, then you have this, Jalen Duren's built, he's like so strong and whatever, and you're like, oh, they have size there, but then it's like the Pistons are one of those weird teams last year who had size at certain positions, but then very much did not have size and like the positions you'd like to have size at, which is like the wings. Like, so I completely agree with you. Simply, even Duncan, like I know Duncan's not a good defender, but like I feel like just simply having that added size should like bring something that maybe THA didn't. And again, I enjoyed THA's season for the most part. He definitely was a part of why they turned the season around last year. But Caris with his size and his length, I think that will really help him defensively. He's really active defensively too, from what I've understood from people I've talked to. So just continue to be active defensively and just offensively. They're going to trust you with the ball in your hands. Just be smart with the ball in your hands. Take the right shots. And if you can do that, honestly, I don't know if you have stats or awards for this player, but I think he could be like top 5, 6 man if he just sticks to that.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So you've kind of, I think that'll cover that section because maybe where we'll jump to wrap it up with Caris and for the show is, I think from listening to Locked On, you have kind of highlighted a 9-man rotation for the Pistons as the roster is right now, not including any potential Malik Beasley reunion. But maybe just with those 4 bench players, how do you actually see the minutes roughly being distributed? Like, is Caris the 6th man? Is it someone else? Maybe just dive into that a little bit because that does relate back to Caris.
Yeah, so I think it was a week and a half ago. I kind of put together what I think the rotation will look like minutes wise. So what I'm looking at is I think Cade's going to get all of his minutes basically at point guard. I think he'll get around like, you hope 32 to 34 minutes a game. I think will probably be what he gets. And then the backup position, I think you'll get like 10 minutes or whatever. What is like 14 minutes of Ivy that you could you can split up between Ivy and Karis there, maybe like 10 minutes for one, for whatever. Then Ivy will play 20 or so minutes at the 2 guard position. And then you'll have Karis and Duncan and maybe Ron or someone split up those minutes at the 2. And then I think Asar will start at the 3. He'll play like 20 minutes, I think, maybe even 18 minutes at the 3. Backup 3, you'll split between Duncan and Ron, whatever those minutes are left. Then at the backup 4 position, or I guess I'd start with the 4, Tobias will play around 28 minutes at the 4. And then I think you'll have Ron and Asar split the backup 4 minutes. That way you can get Asar to 30 minutes by playing him maybe 18 minutes at the 3, 12 minutes at the 4. That would get you to around 40 minutes at the 4 used up. Give Ron like the other 8 minutes there, plus maybe like 18 minutes at the 3 or something like that. To where now he's seen an increase in minutes. You see Duncan split some minutes at the 3 and 2. Karis split some minutes at the 2 and 1. So was Ivy at the starting 2 and the backup 1. I think that's how they're going to chop up the minutes and get everybody, because you want to see Ron play more and you want to see Asar play more. And I think that's the main reason they didn't get a backup 4. Because that's how they're going to increase both of their minute totals, is have them split the minutes at the backup 4, split minutes at the 3, and then that will equal Asar at like 30. And I think Ron, I estimate to be around like 25 plus minutes a game. And then Duncan and Karis to be around like 20, 21 minutes a game, something like that. And then the backup point guard position will be completely filled up from Ivy and Karis. And that's how you kind of fill those minutes in. And then obviously the starting center rotation, I think, is going to be JD and Isaiah Stewart. That's how I envision it. That's one of the reasons why I kind of talked about something in the last episode of Locked On, that like if they can bring back Malik, like obviously like having all that shooting would be great. I kind of don't know like where these, I'll be interested to see how, if they were able to bring back Malik, I'm interested to see how the rotation play out, because you kind of start to pinch for minutes here and there amongst these guys. So I'm interested to see if like that maybe is a reason Malik doesn't end up back in Detroit. But yeah, that's how I see it painting out right now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the 9-man rotation. It does get very crowded if Malik comes back. I'm kind of the view, like, if you can bring him back, like, kind of just try and make it work because of how good he was. And then maybe you can move on from someone at the deadline. But no, I agree.
I was talking with somebody. I won't say who it was, but I was talking with somebody last week, and I kind of brought up like, oh, what if Malik comes back, whatever. And one of the things that got brought up was like, well, even if you do have a crowded rotation, that means that you have a lot of trade assets at the deadline. So if you want to make a move, you'll have trade assets. So that could be another positive to that.
And undoubtedly, like, we don't want any long-term injuries, but players do get banged up. Like, I'm not saying you build a rotation built on that, but like there will be minutes that open up. Tobias, I would think his minutes come down a bit, but I'm with you at the core. And Trajan said this anyway, like the young core, we're going to get a real good look at, particularly Ivy, Duran, those 2 plus Asar. So I think that should be the priority. So we'll see what happens with Malik, but Ku, my man, maybe last thing I'll ask you, then we'll wrap this up, is what's your prediction for the Pistons this season as of, I think it's August 27th for you? Where are they finishing in the East and what's their record?
So as of August 27th, I want everyone to know I have the right to change this before the season starts.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
I'll say the most likely scenario for me is I think they end up as the 5th seed. I think Cleveland, New York get the top 2. I really like Orlando's offseason, and they were really banged up this past year and were only 3 games behind the Pistons. I kind of looked at that and was talking about in today's episode, like, kind of give a lot of respect to Orlando that they were able to win 41 games with Suggs, Franz, and Paolo missing large chunks of the season. That was kind of crazy. So with them being healthy and then bringing in Bane, I think they're probably going to be the third best team in the East. I think they could even jump to maybe second best team in the East. I think they're going to be very good. And I think the fight for 4 will be between Atlanta and Detroit. And I think Detroit, what they have going for them is health over Atlanta. I know Ivy, going down last year was unfortunate, but outside of Ivy, the Pistons actually had some really good health this past year. They didn't have, nagging injuries to a bunch of players. Like, they had relatively good health luck. And Atlanta, why I really love their offseason, a lot of it is based around guys who are injury prone. Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard. Like, even Trae Young has dealt with some stuff every night. Like, so I think that's what the Pistons have an advantage over Atlanta, and that could get them the 4th seed. But I think Atlanta just has more proven talent, I think, right now. Could the Pistons end up with more talent? 100%, but it's kind of hard to predict where these guys are going to end up. So with that, I'll comfortably say 5 just to be, safe. But definitely, I think they could end up 4. I think it's the storyline throughout the year will be a battle between Atlanta and Detroit for 4 or 5. And the Pistons certainly could win it, but I'll play it safe and say 5 right now.
I'm with you. I have them slightly ahead of the Hawks, but it's going to be like a toss-up, I think, barring any major injuries. So, Ku, thank you so much, my friend. Some really good stuff in there. I'm going to have all the links to everything you have going on from the Substack, the Playback Room. But please, for those that for some reason haven't been following you closely, where can they find all the amazing work you do?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I love coming on. Had a lot of fun. You guys can find Locked On whatever, Locked On Pistons, that is, on whatever podcast platform you listen to, whatever podcast you listen to on. You can also find it over on YouTube. You can find it wherever. You can also find me on Twitter at Ku Kahil. And also, if you want to follow my Substack throughout the year, it's been a little slow during the offseason, I will admit. But during the regular season, we were going every single day with content for you guys. I'll have daily Pistons coverage for you guys, not just through the podcast, but on the Substack with written formats and film breakdowns throughout the year. You guys can find it over at kukahil.substack.com or at Pistons Kudos. Again, Jack, appreciate you having me on, man. I'm going to have to get you back on the podcast again before the season starts up too.
Hey, man, I'd love to jump back on. Appreciate you joining once again.